So you just picked up your new Canon EOS R8. And if you're anyone like me, you were probably really excited to start shooting, but you realize that you don't have the right settings on here. With all the options that this gives you, you don't even know where to start. Hi everyone, if you're new to my channel, my name is Paula, and in this video, I wanted to show you guys different settings to help you get the most out of your EOS R8, whether that's learning how to expose, learning how to shoot and log. We're gonna be covering a lot of different topics here today in this video. So if there's a particular setting that you're looking for, or you just wanna know how to get more comfortable shooting with your R8, stick around and let's get started. So we're here at my desk. I'm gonna be running you guys through a couple of different settings, and the chapters are gonna be listed down below. So if there's a setting that you are curious about and not the rest, go ahead and go to that chapter. So let's begin. So to set up C-Log, under the camera settings, you're just gonna go to section number 4. You're gonna go to Canon log settings. C-Log 3, of course. Mine's already turned on, as you can see. So if yours is toggled off, just turn it on. Now hit okay, and then here I also have view assist on. And what view assist is, basically when you're shooting in log, everything from your LCD screen is going to be flat. Once you import them in your editor of choice, then you actually get to increase the colors and take advantage of all the dynamic ranges. And it's a little bit more true to life to what you're seeing in front of you, and it still is shooting in logs. Here down in characteristics, I have some of my own settings turned on. So I have my strength turned up to 3. Saturation, I decided to bump it all the way up to max. Hue, I did not change because I don't want the colors to actually change on my images. So we're gonna go hit menu again. Lastly, here I also have a color space. Mine is set up to cinema gamut. Most people like to shoot in BT 709, which is the most common, most true to life. Cinema gamut is a different color space where it's a little bit more dramatic, I guess. I like this because I like my whites to be really white and I like my blacks to be really black. So this is just preference again. So play around with both of those modes, see which one you like. If you are going to be shooting at BT 709, you want to make sure to download the free Canon lookup table, which I'm going to give you guys a link down below in the description. This is what's going to allow you to convert your video. And this is the Canon provided free lookup table. Next, we're going to cover setting up C1 and C2. I personally use C1 and C2 to shoot B-roll shots, and then C1 for my A-roll. Before you do anything, make sure that you are switched over to M for manual. So we're going to start with C1. So under the camera section here, again, you're going to go to movie rec size. And then here you get to choose whether you want to shoot in 4K and whatever FPS you would like. Or you can also choose HD 1080p. For here, I'm going to hit 4K 24 FPS. Okay. And of course, when you're shooting in 24 FPS, you want to shoot 1/50 for the shutter speed. Base ISO is going to be 800. From here, we're going to go to Q set. And then on Q set, you're going to get all these options as well. You can actually change movie rec size as well versus going into the menu. ISO is here displayed on the bottom. The base ISO is going to be 800. Lastly, we're going to go check out the white balance. For mine, it's set up for white balance, white priority. You can also do daylight, shade, cloudy, depending on what you want to do. I do white priority because, again, I want my whites to be bright and my darks to be really dark. If your lens does not have image stabilization, the camera does have an option to have digital image stabilization. So here, again, I'm going to hit Q set. And if you go scroll all the way on the left side on the bottom, movie digital IS, if you turn it off, obviously there's no image stabilization. If you have it on, there's a slight crop and even more in enhanced. So I default to on just so that it assists the image in the camera. I'm going to go back to the menu. Now that you've had those set up, we're going to go to the gear, and then we're going to go to number 5. So here we're going to go down to custom shooting mode, and then we're going to hit register settings, and you get to choose whether you want to do it for C1 or C2. In this case, we want to save it for C1, and then register camera settings, hit OK. So here, when we're setting up C1, then we know if our settings have been saved. So if we're going to hit Q set, I do see that it has 4K 24 FPS is the default. Movie digital IS is turned on, which is the one that we chose. And of course, auto white balance, white priority is what we had. So I know that C1 is correctly set up. So in C2, We're gonna set that up for 60 FPS for B-roll. Again, we're gonna switch that over to M. Let's do it the faster way this time for 60 FPS so you can see both options. So again, Q set, we're gonna change this to 4K 60. So movie rec size, look for 4K 60 right there. Because I know this is gonna be for B-roll, I do prefer to have the enhanced digital stabilization. Even though it's a little bit more cropped, I know that this is going to help me get the most steady shots. After that, you can also check to make sure that the auto white balance is fixed. If you do want to change the white balance priority, whether you want to turn that on or off, I believe you have to go through the menu. So this one I am going to show you. So here we're gonna go to the first level again, or the first camera again. And then we're gonna go to number 4, white balance, and then you get to choose if you want white balance priority on or off. And it says here if you click this grid looking button, you're gonna get to choose if you just want auto white balance or auto white balance priority. Since we're shooting for the B-roll, we are going to make sure that the shutter speed is 1/125. So you can click it here on the screen. So I'm gonna go to 1/125. We're gonna go to the wrench on top. On the wrench, you're gonna go to number 5. After that, you're gonna go to custom shooting mode again, register settings, and we're gonna go to custom shooting mode C2. It's gonna ask you if you wanna okay and accept, and that should be it. Once we toggle this over to C2, we're gonna go hit Q set again, and it shows here that it's defaulted to 4K 60. Digital image stabilization is unenhanced. And then white balance is on and is on white priority, which is what we set up. So we know that that menu has been saved for both C1 and C2. This next part, we're gonna go through the programmable buttons. We're gonna go to the camera to the very right with a little meter underneath it. And we're gonna go to number 3. Here, obviously you can get crazy with all the customizations. So you can start with the direction of your rotating wheel, whether you want to do reverse direction or just normal. I have it just set to normal. Here we can do the direction for the focus ring of your camera. So here we're gonna go to customize buttons. What's nice is that it shows you the top view of the camera so you know exactly which buttons to choose if you're interested in changing those. So this is what the menus look like if you do want to change the function of each. So the shutter button, if you wanted to do just a half press, you can do autofocus, you can do metering. Mine, I just kept it to autofocus because that's what I'm used to working with it on. The film button, so this is where you actually record. So mine, I just kept it to that, but obviously you can change it to other functions. I feel like it's counterintuitive to change the red button to be anything else other than recording. All the others I kept pretty much the same. So going back, I'm gonna go to customize dials. This one is my favorite because this one does allow me to make the changes to shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. So I believe this first one I had shutter speed, and then this other wheel here is for my ISO. Focus ring, aperture value is what I have it set for, depending on the lens again that you have. Since we're talking about that, I also wanted to show you guys the shutter button. So I don't know if everyone does this, but ever since I learned about it, I can never live without having the shutter button act as a recording button as well. So I'm gonna go to the main camera again, so the one on the very left, number 7. It actually shows you here, shutter button function for movies. If you half press it, looks like you have the option to do one-shot autofocus or just straight up autofocus or just metering. So I have it set up to autofocus. Again, this is just for filming videos. You can leave it defaulted to no function, so it won't do anything. Or you might as well just have a backup button. So start, stop movie recording. You're just gonna toggle that down to here. And that way you have now 2 ways to start recording. Well, technically 3, because you could also use the LCD screen to start recording with the big red button on the right. Next, I want to show you guys how to get to 120 FPS. This might be a very beginner tip, but this is something that I just tested out the other day because I never had a need to do slow-mo until I was testing out this camera for our last video. Okay, so in order to shoot in 120, as you can see here, it doesn't actually give you the option. I know it's only going to be available in HD, but it only goes up to 60 when you do it this way. So I'm going to go hit back or menu to go back, and then high frame rate is going to be right below it. If you enable this, this does allow it to become 120 FPS. And as you can see, it only goes up to 1080. So you're gonna hit okay. It does give you a warning that it won't obviously have audio. So now you're filming in 1080p, 120 FPS. Make sure that your shutter speed is also set correctly. So we're gonna go to the main screen again. And here we're gonna go hit this shutter speed down below. And you can just toggle that over, and that'll allow you to get this smooth slow motion shots. And I'll show you a sample of that here. And we didn't really have to do anything else. So that's 120 FPS. Next is also an important one. We're gonna go through setting up your zebras. If you're not familiar with what zebras are, I will link some videos down below that kind of helped explain it to me. So hopefully that'll help explain it for you guys a little bit better than I can. In a nutshell, zebras are the stripes that show up on your subject, and it helps you know how exposed it is. So we're gonna go to the main camera screen here, and then we're gonna go to option number 7. In number 7, you're gonna see here zebra settings are gonna be set to on or off. So since we're gonna be turning that on, zebra pattern, I've never played with this before. I just kept it to zebra 1. Zebra 1 level, since that's what we're using, I kept it to 60. There is a chart that, again, in the video that I would link to you guys down below, will explain a little better. It depends on the IRE level of your subject. And I may be totally misspeaking about this because of this scale, depending on the skin tone of your subject. If you have a deeper skin tones, you'll be lower on the scale. If you have lighter skin tone, you'll be higher on the scale. Again, I'm not doing it justice how to explain it, but I will link you guys some really useful videos. Another way for you to make sure that your exposure is accurate or not overblown and not underexposed is to look at a histogram. If you hit info, it'll show the histogram here. With the histogram, this one's a little bit easier to use, and this is actually what I like to use. Basically, if your histogram meter is all the way to the left, that means that your subject is most likely very underexposed. So I'm gonna kick up the ISO until it moves to the middle. And so it looks like 6400, it's pretty happy. You can see there, because my zebra stripes are also on, these are the parts that have less shadow and more exposure. Whether you have the zebra stripes or not, if you have the histogram, it does help. If you choose not to use the zebras, then you can use the histogram. And some people, if you're really good about it, you can use both. All right, welcome back. Hopefully this video has helped you guys out getting set up with your new R8 and help you get a little bit more comfortable shooting with it. If you guys did find this video helpful, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech and creative lifestyle videos. And that is it for me. I will see you guys in the next one.